Verse 3. While we have already considered the reasons why the beast and his 10 sub-kings should hate Babylon, retaliation and jealousy respectively, here we are given the first of 2 reasons why Babylon has earned such a devastating judgment from God. This first reason concerns the negative effect she has had upon the world, primarily upon unbelievers, in promoting, supporting, and in fact, to a very great degree producing the system of spiritual prostitution which will characterize human life throughout the tribulation and which will hold sway throughout the world of that time. This corrupting influence is described here as having 3 main venues. 1. Other nations generally. 2. The kings or ruling hierarchies around the world. And 3. The merchants. Herein we are given to see just how all-pervasive Babylon and her corrupt values and practices have been. For in this threefold breakdown, we can see her cultural and religious, political and military, and economic and technological influences at work upon these 3 respective groups. The spirit of prostitution, of seeking solutions apart from God, and turning instead by definition to Satan, and explicitly so in following the beast, will penetrate deep down into the marrow of every significant power block in the world of that future day. With this level of culpability, having made herself essential to all that Antichrist and his father the devil have accomplished in the world at large during the tribulation, it is small wonder that Babylon has incurred such an extraordinary measure of divine wrath. Flee Babylon, Revelation 18:4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out from her, O my people, that you may not receive a share of the punishment for her sins, and that you may not partake of the plagues which are about to fall upon her. Revelation 18:4. Up until this point, as we have had occasion to mention before, Babylon has apparently been spared many of the more draconian aspects of the beast's tribulational rule. The command given here in verse 4 is a clear indication that she has also been a sort of safe haven for believers. We should not, of course, expect that believers dwelling in Babylon and her vicinity have been completely exempt up until now from either the general trials of the tribulation, for example, the 2 series of worldwide divine judgments, and the general suffering brought about by Antichrist's policies, or from the great persecution. However, the fact that the remainder of this chapter in Revelation definitely paints a picture of a Babylon characterized by excessive luxuries certainly indicates that she has fared far better than the rest of the world to this point, with at least her privileged classes knowing very little, lack as judged from the description in Revelation 18:4 through 24. Secondly, our present verse definitely assumes that 1. There are a sizable number of believers still alive and living in Babylon in spite of the great persecution, and that 2. At this point, at any rate, they have the freedom of action and opportunity necessary to respond to this command to flee Babylon. For some, it will doubtless be the case that their prior imprisonment or confinement or restriction had been lifted at the point of Babylon's rebellion, when the beast and his imperial guard temporarily disappeared into the supernatural veil of darkness which had fallen upon his kingdom. For others, it may well be that they had been largely spared the intensive trouble endured by their brothers and sisters in Jesus around the world. For all concerned, however, the recent destruction in Jerusalem on account of the worldwide earthquake will make that city seem the last place that anyone should flee to, especially in light of that city's recent status as Antichrist's world capital. But regardless of prior experience or human reasoning, it will be absolutely critical for believers to respond to this command when it comes, for the safe haven of Babylon is about to become a danger zone. Failure to do so will result in sharing the plagues which are about to come upon her, Revelation 18:4. Given other previous heavenly commands, signs and signals during the tribulation, it is best to understand this command to flee Babylon as one which will likewise be audible and, to all believers within Babylon's borders at least, comprehensible. All the more so then will it be absolutely essential for those who have retained their faith in Jesus Christ to respond to this mandate immediately, for there will be no excuse for non-compliance with this exceptionally clear warning. Likewise, just as it happened in the days of Lot, people were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, buying and selling, planting orchards and building homes. But on the day that Lot left Sodom, it rained fire and sulfur from heaven, and the judgment destroyed everyone who had not left. It will be the same on the day when the Son of Man is revealed. In that day, whoever is on the roof of the house, even though his possessions are in the house, let him not come down to collect them, and let the one who is in the field likewise not turn back. Remember Lot's wife. Whoever seeks to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses it, that is, treats it as lost, will preserve it. Luke 17:28-33. When people are saying peace and safety, at that precise time destruction will fall swiftly upon them, just like labor pains on a pregnant woman, that is, the tribulational judgments culminating in Armageddon will begin. 1 Thessalonians 5:3. These verses, while not technically describing this situation, are certainly applicable, with the first passage driving home the lesson that our response at that time must be swift and decisive, with no looking back and no indecision, while the second passage indicates that the need for flight will be completely counterintuitive. To the secular world, the fifth bowl judgment which plunged the beast's kingdom into darkness, the instability which followed, and Antichrist's temporary disappearance into the gloom will seem to mark the end of a long nightmare. But in reality, it will begin what is apparently a very short countdown to Babylon's annihilation. Those who draw the false conclusion that their trouble is over once and for all will likely fail to flee in time, even if they recognize their error after Antichrist's re-emergence from the darkness prior to Babylon's destruction. This passage in Revelation definitely indicates that the window of opportunity for flight will be a narrow one indeed. Depart from Babylon! Flee from the Babylonians. Isaiah 48:20. Take flight from the midst of Babylon and from the land of the Babylonians. Depart and be like the he-goats at the head of the flock. For behold, I am about to stir up and bring up against Babylon an assemblage of great nations from the land of the north. And they will array themselves against her, and from there she will be captured. Their arrows are like those of a skilled warrior who bereaves. They will not return without effect. The Babylonians will be plundered, and those who plunder them will get their fill, says the Lord. Jeremiah 50:8-10. Cut off the sower from Babylon, and the one who grabs the sickle in time of harvest. Let everyone return to his own people, and let everyone flee to his own land from before the sword of the oppressor. Jeremiah 50:16. Flee from the midst of Babylon and save your lives, everyone. Don't be annihilated on account of her iniquity. For this is the time of the Lord's vengeance and of his recompense. He will repay her in full. Babylon is a golden cup in the hand of the Lord, which makes the whole earth drunk. The nations have drunk of her wine, and therefore the nations have gone mad. Babylon will fall in an instant and be broken. Lament over her. Get balm for her disease. Perhaps she can be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she could not be healed. Abandon her, and let us get out everyone to his own land. For the judgment against her has reached up to heaven and has risen to the clouds. Jeremiah 51:6-9. Awake, awake, and flee from the land of the north, that is Babylon, even though I scatter you like the four winds of heaven were driving you on, says the Lord. Awake, flee to Zion, you who dwell with the Babylonians. Zechariah 2:6-7. These passages all have a double application, referring first to the historical return of the Jews to Israel following the Babylonian captivity, but also referring to the situation at hand, the escape of believers from eschatological Babylon prior to her destruction. Indeed, many of the details in these and other like passages are incomprehensible without understanding and applying this final fulfillment in the last days. From these quotations, the answers to several important questions about this escape come to light.